Okay, welcome back, guys. Another video here. We're talking about the Real Estate OS referral marketing system. So this was announced in this weekend. Um, on Friday, I decided to kind of build this out for everybody and launch it this weekend via email. So the Real Estate OS referral system. Now, what we're going to be doing with your regular subscription, everybody's regular subscription, so it's not extra money. I will be personally mailing and shipping 25 thank you cards every single month to Real Estate OS members. And so, what these thank you cards are, they're pre-written with a nice little message for your sphere of influence, past customers, current customers, anybody that you know, vendors. Just a nice little message that you can then, hand address either your signature, or you can write a nice little thank you, thinking of you note, um, kind of like a birthday card of those sorts. And so those are pre-written messages that will be sent out every month, and um, you're going to get the 25 note cards as well as a front and back instruction manual on what to do, give you ideas of what to write, who to write to, which contacts to use, and then what how to upload them into your smart plans and which plan to put them on and what to tag them with. So those will be coming every single month. We'll test them out the first month. If we get negative feedback from all of our members saying these are completely useless, I don't want thank you cards, then we'll just scrap the project. But if it does do well, and we hear some victories of, hey, thanks for sending me the thank you cards, I actually got a referral because of that, right? It reminded me to reach out to this person, and so I wrote them a thank you card, and then I called them, and they sent me a referral. So um, hopefully we get some of those stories coming up, but they are going to be sent to me. I ordered them online, so we'll see how that goes, how they come. Ordered 500 of them to start, so that should last throughout this month, and then get those shipped out as soon as they come into me. And then hopefully it just becomes a monthly project of just ordering them, designing them, and then mailing them out manually from to person. And I think it'll be a nice touch, in my opinion, for Real Estate OS referral system. But so how our referral system works, it is a different cadence. So we have text, emails, note cards, thank you cards, newsletters, postcards. And so inside Real Estate OS, we have the entire system built for you. So all you have to do is plug in your database and turn on, the cadence that you're wanting, right? So if you're wanting a direct cadence, you turn on the direct cadence. If you want more of a relaxed cadence, you scale it back a little bit to be more relaxed, right? So it's totally controllable by your settings of how you want to turn it on. We'll turn it on for you, but it's super easy, super simple, and it's designed to get referrals into your team, into your sphere, and just be top of mind, top of present at all times for your customers, and your clients, your friends, your family, your sphere, your church friends, and everything else. And so I'll go and talk about why I think referrals are the future. I just see a collapse coming for online digital leads and a lot of other lead sources. I see referral as being the future for real estate agents, right? Going back to the basics of doing your note cards, doing your monthly phone calls, texting your clients, emailing them newsletters and useful information about the month, and things like that has very it'll make the big difference into your business, right? So that's kind of where we're at with Real Estate OS. Was I'm noticing that as a future trend, and so I wanted to get that implemented for everybody inside of my business, inside of Real Estate OS business. That way they can stay in business, and they can achieve it and reach their goals, right? So I'm working with a team right now whose goals is to get 100% Zillow off Zillow, right? Closed 400 homes in the last 5 years, and they're dependent on Zillow for their income, and so they were asking me, how do we get off Zillow? And I said, okay, so you have 400 people, and how many of those people still live in your area? And they told me about 396 out of 400, right? So nobody's really left the area. And I said, that's your golden ticket right there. 400 people. You know, you want to host a part of Real Estate OS, host that quarterly, or every 3 to 6 months. An investor, not an investor, but like a client event. Could be an investor workshop, could be a client event at a restaurant, and host those every 3 to 6 months. And if you haven't talked to somebody in 6 years, then that phone call talking to them is just, hey, how's it going? I was thinking of you the other day. We're hosting this event at the Mexican restaurant down the road. Would love to see you there, and everything else. So always have that event that you're targeting them to go to next. And so with that team, for example, I told them, let's say you host your event and only 25 people show up. That's not a failure. You still have those 25 people that you can turn into cheerleaders, and let's say 25% of those send you a referral over the next 12 months, right? So that's an extra, couple deals right there. Right? So it's like, what, 5 point something deals? But then I showed them, hey, if you reactivate, let's say 100 of those 400 people that you've sold in the last 4 years, 5 years, what would that look like? 100 of those people sending you referrals, one referral every year, that's 100 extra deals, right? And you did 100 deals last year, right there you're not Zillow dependent. And I also showed them the math, right? When you are working with Zillow, paying a 40% referral fee, your commission's 0.6. So every referral deal is actually, 0.6. A Zillow deal is 0.6 of that, right? So we did the math of if they closed 80 Zillow deals, how many of those would have to be referral deals, right? And we showed them, okay, you need to close 48 referral deals. And so, it's less work to make the same amount of money, right? And so, of course it's more work, but, we showed the math. And then we talked about, how the monthly phone call, you really can't replace that, right? Because what happens is when you talk to your clients on a monthly basis, your past clients, your sphere of influence, your friends and family, and you're talking about them, their lifestyle, their home worth, what's sold in the neighborhood, and what you're doing in your business, and then you ask them who do they know that's looking to buy or sell real estate, and they don't have anybody, and you call them monthly for 6 months, and they're predicting your phone call to come, right? Because they know, okay, you've been consistent the last 5 months, you're going to call me again. Well, guess what? When they're, in passing by conversation, and they hear the term real estate, or I'm thinking of buying or selling, they're going to have a little tingle in their ear. They're going to have a little tingle in their head, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh. They're going to instantly think of their realtor who's been calling them monthly for the last 6 months, who they have not given them anything for, right? And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you have to talk to my realtor, Derek, right? Is it okay if I give you his information? And, next time, right away, he might not, that person you've been calling for 6 months might not, reach out to you or text you, but they're going to be like, hey, next time, Derek should be calling me this week or in a couple days, right? When Derek calls me in a couple days, I'm going to tell them about my cousin who's moving in 2 months. And so then you're able to when you call them again, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, before we talk about anything else, I finally have a referral for you. Because they're going to be, wanting to give you that referral because you've been so committed to them and talking to them, and giving them a text message, giving them an email, giving them a newsletter, giving them a phone call, giving them an event. You've been giving, being the giving tree, and finally, that person's able to give you something of value. And in real estate, that referral of value could be anywhere from 5,000 to 25,000 and above, right? Depending on the price point of that referral. So just by having that relationship, being that constant person, calling them, sending them the newsletter, sending them a nice thinking of you text, a nice email, a nice, being in their space, hosting events for them to, stop what they're doing and go attend every quarter or every 6 months. You position yourself as that person that finally, when they get that, referral or somebody thinking of selling, they hear it in just regular conversation, instantly, their mind kind of stops and they're like, I need to give you this referral. So that's the referral marketing system. That's what we put into Real Estate OS. If you're interested in learning more about that system, go to Real Estate OS, like os.com, and you can book a calendar invite with me. Just go from there, and we'll meet, and I'll implement this entire Real Estate OS system for you, done in your business, and we have so much more to share with you.